I always preferred the supermarket at 2 a.m., when the aisles are empty, except for the stock boys drifting between pallets and the constant hum of refrigeration units cycling in and out of consciousness. It's the only place I can hear myself think without the static of other people's small talk. Most customers never think of this place as anything more than a collection of barcodes and price tags. They don't realize how little stands between them and something profoundly corrupt. A pinhole, a lifted seal, a thumbprint in the wrong place. That's all it takes. I start in the meat section, because that's where the consequences are most immediate. The packaging is never as secure as they'd like you to believe. If you press your thumb along the seam, right where the plastic clings to the foam, you'll feel the thin film detach. It creates a pocket just large enough for what I carry. Tonight, it's a slip of intestine I cured on a radiator. It's dry, almost papery, but it rehydrates quickly if you wedge it against a moist surface. I prefer pork for that. Something about the pale flesh makes the contamination feel more honest, like it's always been there, waiting for someone to look closely enough. I count each tray I touch, making a mental ledger. There is satisfaction in the arithmetic. 1 contaminated, 5 left untouched, 2 with hairline tears I didn't have to create myself. I imagine some underpaid clerk repackaging them in the morning, oblivious. The illusion of control is so delicate here. A thin layer of plastic and routine inspections. Nothing more. When I'm satisfied with the meats, I move to the dairy aisle. This part requires more finesse. You can't compromise a sealed carton without leaving a trace, but the foil-topped yogurt cups are forgiving if you know the right pressure. A pinhole along the edge where the foil meets the lip. A single drop of what I prepared. Condensed runoff collected from the dumpsters behind a retirement home. The consistency is perfect. Viscous enough to stay put. Thin enough to blend. They will taste it, eventually. A tang they can't quite name. A dull, sour undertone they'll blame on the manufacturer or the expiration date. It will linger on their tongue longer than they'd prefer. I don't hurry. Haste is a confession in itself. I move slowly, pausing to examine nutritional labels I already know by heart. Fat content, sodium levels, daily values. None of it matters. It's camouflage. While others fixate on calories, I focus on weaknesses, seams, points of ingress. The produce section is easier. There are no seals to break, no adhesives to betray my touch. The fruit sits in open displays, trusting that no one will slip something inside. I favor cantaloupes because they split cleanly along the stem line, leaving an inviting hollow. Once, I placed a desiccated mouse inside a cantaloupe and watched it roll into a bin of identical fruit. No one noticed. Even as they picked them up, pressed the rind for ripeness, compared prices. They never suspected. People assume contamination comes from somewhere far away. A factory, a truck, a warehouse. They can't imagine it standing beside them, considering which melon to choose. Further down, the prepackaged salads call to me. So many tiny folds of lettuce and shredded carrot, all compressed behind a thin plastic window. I've developed a technique. Unpeeling one corner, just enough to slide in a scrap of something rotted, then pressing it back into place. The adhesive reforms if you warm it briefly in your palm. By the time they open it at home, the damage is irreversible. I once watched a woman take 3 bags of mixed greens and set them in her cart without hesitation. She adjusted her purse strap, checked her phone. She never looked at me. Never noticed my hand hovering near her selection. She'll never know which one I touched. Some nights I think about the customers who discover my contributions. They'll stand in their kitchens, staring at what they thought was clean, fresh, safe. They'll wrinkle their noses, mutter curses, throw it away. But the contamination has already traveled. On their hands, beneath their fingernails, onto the counters and the refrigerator handle. That's what fascinates me most. The way decay spreads. Quietly, inexorably. I linger near the frozen foods, though I rarely interfere there. The frost makes it inconvenient. But I watch, cataloging which doors people touch, which boxes they pull out and put back. Each fingerprint is a record of carelessness, a map of who will take something home that was never meant for them. Sometimes I imagine if I were less patient, I could do more dramatic things. I could pour something corrosive into the soup cans, leave shards of glass in the rice. But that isn't the point. I'm not interested in spectacle. I prefer subtlety. The knowledge that someone will spend hours wondering what went wrong, never realizing they were chosen. At the register, the cashier doesn't look up when I pass. My basket is always modest, just enough to justify my presence. A bottle of milk, a loaf of bread, a carton of eggs I have no intention of eating. I pay in cash. I say nothing. Outside, the air is sharp and clean in a way that feels offensive. The parking lot is deserted except for the night crew on smoke breaks. They don't notice me as I pause by the automatic doors, watching them cycle open and shut. I think about the families who will unload their groceries, who will never suspect that everything they touched has already begun to spoil. They believe hygiene is a matter of vigilance, that if they scrub enough, seal enough, wash enough, they'll be safe. But it's only luck that keeps them whole. Luck, and the fact that I don't always feel like visiting. Tonight, though, I felt like it. And tomorrow, perhaps, I'll feel like it again.